Hey ho, StarWC here, and today I'm doing a video on Transformers Studio Series 86 leader Megatron. So here he is in his tank mode. Clearly he's not a gun like the original cartoon and toy, but if Hasbro could release a gun Megatron, they would. Personally, I do tend to prefer Megatron with a vehicle mode anyway, though I don't really have a preference between tank, jet, and helicopter. I like the idea that Megatron would switch between alt modes throughout a series. That being said, this is a pretty decent tank mode. At least the bottom half is. It's incredibly cohesive, actually looking like a real tank. The shins and the feet are sticking out at the back, which kinda breaks up the illusion, but they are nowhere near as bad as the turret. It doesn't look anything like a real tank at all. It's very clearly just folded up arms with a cannon placed in between them. And the rotation axis being placed so far back definitely doesn't help. It can lift up ever so slightly, but it's not really enough for it to be very useful. It's mostly grey, with some darker grey segments, like the cannon and the treads. The previously mentioned obvious shins are this sort of sand blue colour. They probably would have blended in a lot more if they were grey. There's also this small touch of red on the top of the cannon, and a very nice silver outline Decepticon symbol at the front. There's a few 5mm ports, one on each side, and two on top. And since both of his accessories have 5mm pegs, that's where they can be stored. He's got some wheels underneath, two in the rear, and one very wide one at the front. It's always a lovely detail when tank formers get wheels. For comparison, here is 86 Optimus Prime, another leader class tank, Age of the Prime's Megatronus, Siege Megatron, a LEGO minifigure, my previous Transformers video, Studio Series 1 Optimus Prime, and 86 Optimus Prime. For transformation, start by separating the turret. You'll then be able to grab the cannon and pull it out. This feels incredibly unnecessary, especially since it plugs into the arm in robot mode. And right here are the arms. In fact, these are the holes. Right here. It really just doesn't feel like this needed to parts form. Megatronus had the same issue. I really hope this isn't a trend that will keep happening in the future. Next, you want to come to the sides and flip down this panel. That will allow you to flip out this panel and then fold in this panel and then close this panel back up. The same will then happen on this side. Then you'll grab this front section, it will detach and it will fold up alongside the other half. This panel will then clip in underneath. Then it will be the same on the other side. Then you want to come to the back and just flip these pieces up. Then the shins will just sort of pull out from here. Then you'll take the treads and they will fold round and plug into place. Then the shins will plug into the front here. Then you can take the feet and they will just fold flat. Then there's a hinge here that will flip round and plug into place. You want to detach the legs and fold them down. Swivel the side skirts out to the side and then swivel this all around. Bring this piece out, that'll allow you to flip up the head, then fold it back up. Fold this panel in and collapse the chest into place. You can then fold up the abdomen. Split the back of the turret, this entire section will spin around. It will then fold up and then collapse into the chest. Then these armatures will just fold in. They could be a bit difficult to get in and they can also be a bit difficult to get back out. Then come to the arms and just open them up. If you bend the elbow, this will make it easier, but you swivel this whole assembly around, flip out the fist, and then fold the arm back up. Then finally, you bring back the cannon, fold in this piece. This will plug onto his arm. Then you pull off the tip. It will plug into his back and fold up. And after that very fun and ingenious transformation, here is Megatron in his robot mode. And despite the fact he has a completely different alternate mode, he is incredibly show accurate, with no extra kibble outside of the treads on the back of the legs. The proportions are practically spot on. My only real gripe on that front are the shoulders. I feel they either should have been slightly bigger or slightly higher up. I don't think he quite looks intimidating enough with how they currently are. He's still mostly that light grey, with some dark grey sections, like the hands and waist, and of course the fusion cannon. But his sand blue shins are much more obvious in this mode, and I'm not sure where they got the sand blue from. In the show they tended to be more grey, and even on his character model they're nowhere near this shade of blue. I will admit that his character model does have a tint of blue to them, but nowhere near this shade. But it doesn't bother me too much. I definitely would have preferred if they weren't this blue, but overall it's not a massive issue for me. He's got a lot more red in this mode. Obviously he still has the little bit on the fusion cannon, but now he's got some on his arms and midriff, along with some blue and yellow details. They kind of look like buttons. Is this a DVD drive? Doesn't seem to fit. He's of course still got that wonderful Decepticon symbol slap bang in the center of his chest. The silver isn't show accurate, but I think it looks cool, so I'm giving it a pass. His head is very good. There does seem to be something slightly wrong with it, but I can't really place my finger on what. I think MP33 has a better head sculpt. Something else that I think is slightly off is the fusion cannon. It's just kind of wimpy. I think this gap is proportionally way too big, and I think the whole thing could have done with just being a little bit bigger. But that probably would have messed with the tank mode, so it's difficult to say really. I just think the fusion cannon could have been better. It's attached via a 5mm port, and he's got one on the other arm, as well as two on the back, but of course one of them is occupied. For his other accessories, he's got his totally not lightsaber that he used in his final fight with Optimus. The blade part of it is painted in this lovely sparkly pink, whilst the crossguard is painted matte lavender. It needs to be clipped into his hand instead of simply sliding in, which is unfortunate. Means no figure with closed hands can use it, but it does look great once he's holding it. And if you don't want him to hold it, you can simply plug it onto his back. Unfortunately, he doesn't come with the tiny pink gun he used to fatally wound Optimus, but he does come with another tiny gun, himself. I feel as though this is a great compromise to the gun Megatron issue. It's not like any figure would be able to hold him if he did turn into a gun. But like this, you can give this accessory to any figure you like. It's not particularly accurate to a Walther P38, but it is the scope, silencer and stock that make his gun mode so iconic. And this has 2/3 of them. Obviously, including the stock would make it hard to put it into figures' hands, but it would have been nice to have. Feels a little incomplete without it. The scope and silencer are painted dark grey, and he's got a tiny little Decepticon symbol on one side. You can of course put it in Megatron's hand if you want to, some sort of cloning mishap or multiverse story. Megaplex? Is that you? Or you can store it on his back using this little tab. It would have been nice if he came with his Energon flail to go with Optimus and his axe, but that hasn't become quite as iconic as the axe. And it would have eaten up a lot of the budget, only for me to put it in a box and never see it again, so I guess it makes sense not to include it. It'll eventually come out in some sort of accessory pack. For articulation, he's got a ball joint at the head. If you detach the chest, you can use this panel to get him to look down a bit. His arms go all the way around and this far out. There's a forward butterfly, and if you pull out the arm, which can be quite difficult, you can get a backwards butterfly. Elbow bend, bicep swivel, wrist swivel. Now I do find on this hand specifically that the wrist joint is quite loose. You can see right there, if I open up the arm, it falls out. I'm worried that this socket will break. He has double jointed fingers with an individual pointer finger. I wish these 3 fingers could go inside the hand a little further. If you detach his ab piece, you can technically get an arching back, but it doesn't really work. Waist swivel, legs can go forward this far, back this far, and this far out. Thigh swivel, knee bends that are unfortunately quite loose on my copy. Ankle pivot, some foot up and down, and some toe down. Definitely a fun figure to mess with. Super dynamic. And he's about as posable as Optimus. Better in some places, worse in others, which is very fitting. For comparison, here is 86 Optimus Prime, another leader class tank, Age of the Prime's Megatronus. I have no idea how anyone thought these would be the same mold. Siege Megatron, someone's being replaced. A Lego minifigure, my previous Transformers video, Studio Series 1 Optimus Prime, and 86 Optimus Prime. He's definitely much larger than his previous figure, but this one is much more in line with 86 Optimus, even if it's slightly taller, which I know some people have a problem with, but I'm fine with it personally. Though it does frustrate me that he's taller than Galvatron. Isn't he supposed to be an upgraded version of Megatron? Ultimately, this is a great companion piece to Optimus. I still prefer Optimus, but that's no knock on this guy. Still incredibly good. I definitely can't wait to see other updates planned for Studio Series. The new Seeker mold already looks terrific. I think Soundwave will be revealed by the time this video goes out, but it's not yet, and I am very excited. But let's see what other people think. Okay, right. I have some problems with this figure, but first, I love most of the look of this thing. My first issue is the head has a massive forehead and an overly white face. Second issue, the fusion cannon. It's just really inaccurate. Thirdly, the lower leg color. I really don't like the bluish gray. And lastly, I wish he had a mace. but that's not a real issue. Actually, it's a flail. He's more of a Gamer Edition Devastation Megs, more than he is an 86 Megs. But the tank itself does look pretty good. I don't think I'd agree with that. I mean, Devastation has a completely different alt mode to begin with, but even the robot mode of Devastation is a lot more chunky than this figure is. The arms being the turret in tank mode was one of the worst decisions ever made. They should have just put the turret on the back and make it look like the tank they based this on. Yeah, I definitely have to disagree there. Whereas I do think the turret in tank mode is incredibly flawed, I don't think shoving a massive backpack on the back of this guy would be the right move. Also, what do you do with the arms in that situation as well? Arms too small, head too big, chest too big, shins too short, tank mode awful. What stretchy set? But add on that 3/4 of the accessories look bad. Terrible ball jointed hands. Shoulders are definitely not wide enough, and fixing that wouldn't affect transformation. Haven't seen anyone really mention it, but the opaque sword looks really ugly. 86 Megatron could have been a very good figure. A simple Megatron that had only 2 modes at leader price would have been easy. Unfortunately, I think Megatron suffers from being boring and basic. Sure, he's a complicated transformation, but he doesn't do much with it. Only a bad looking tank. I mean, only half of it looks bad. His robot mode doesn't help either, when his proportions are off and his shaping is weird. He didn't need to be a gun to be cool. He just needed to be cool. The tank mode could have been a really fun design that incorporates his design features. The robot mode could have easily exuded that movie aura he had. Unfortunately, the designers just don't seem to know how to cut it, leaving us with a figure that just isn't what Megatron can be. I wrote too much. Basically, 86 Megatron could have been good, but now he's just a boring figure. Make sure to tell me what you think down in the comments. But that's about it for this video, so I guess that's Salut BC out. Next time is a chunky boy.